Hey everyone. So tonight I'm going to make a creamy chicken rigatoni, and we're going to use the 12-inch weeknight skillet. Now this is part of the Brilliance cookware line, which has the nice pretty steel blue finish. It's non-stick on the inside and on the outside, and it comes with the glass lids with the handle. They are dishwasher safe. They're good for all cooktops. And they can go in the oven. So let's get started. We are going to turn our heat to medium. I think that's right. Yeah. And we're going to put a tablespoon of butter in here. I'll let that start melting. In order to put myself ahead a little bit, I went ahead and cut up some chicken. This is our small flexible cutting mat. This is one I got. It was a limited time thing when they were doing a breast cancer awareness thing one year. So you know what? The recipe calls, I'm not going to get my little canisters of salt and pepper. The recipe calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt and pepper. That's not really a whole lot, so I'm just going to sprinkle it. I think that would be better. If it's a little more, that's okay. I like salt. If it's a little less, well, we'll add some salt later. Okay. Can you hand me that silicone spatula? Nope. This one. Thank you. Okay, it's starting to melt. Stir this around a little bit, trying to get it going. I guess while that's going, I could be doing a couple of other things. So I'll go ahead and show you this. This is made for the Brilliance line. I'm sure you could use it with the stainless steel skillet and the other lines too, but it fits across your handle. It's a handle something or another. I forget what you call it. And then this little piece is for the tops of the lids. It just keeps you from burning your fingers because that stainless steel can get really hot. So what we're going to do here, as soon as this butter melts, we're going to put our chicken in and go ahead and fry that up. But while that's working, I'm going to show you another product because we are going to use a little bit of onion and a little bit of pepper in this. And I do say a little bit of onion because my family's not very crazy over it. And I'm going to use just a little bit of pepper here. I'm just going to cut off the side. You can also use your scoop loop here. And I don't really like it for as much as trying to scoop down into it, but it does have a serrated edge on this side and on this side, so you can actually get those edges off of the membrane, I guess I would say, of the pepper. If you want to use the small side, you can use it to scrape that off. This works good if you're using pumpkins, if you're using butternut squash. Seeds just went from one side to the other. Or squash or zucchini if you need to hollow out the seeds and the membranes on it. Anything that's got seeds like that, it's really good for. You can also use this. There was a recipe back in the fall to make some little ghost cookies. And you could cut out cookie dough with it and make it in the shape of a ghost. Okay. So what I'm going to show you now, well, yeah. Let's see. I'm just going to do a little bit of the pepper since my family isn't crazy over it. I think the recipe pretty much calls for a whole onion and a whole pepper. So I'm just going to cut this in smaller chopped pieces. And we're going to use our food chopper. Now this is a classic. It's been out probably as long as the pizza stones have been. And you can either chop inside of this, or you could just put this on top of stuff and chop it, which is what I think I'm going to do here. And these blades here turn as you push down on it chop. So you can see there's kind of coarse pieces and finer pieces there. The more you chop it, the finer it gets, which we really like to not have the big pieces running. I also like during the holiday time to put like pecans and things in here, and then go ahead and put the chopper on and chop it in the lid so all the pecans stay inside of there. Now I could have used the quick slice to make little cubes of this bell pepper, but I thought I would chop it up a lot finer. And I'm going to mix these two together. Just going to turn that over and make sure there's a big piece of onion there. There's a big piece of pepper there. I just sort of keep checking it to make sure I get it the way I want it to be. Okay. Then I'm just going to scoop some of this out here. See, a couple of those pieces are kind of big, so I'm just going to lay that off to the side. Food chopper. This is good also if you, like the ham I had the other day, you can cut that in smaller pieces and chop ham for salad. Lots of nice things there. A lot of people really like it when they order it. This is actually my second one. I used my first one until it broke on me, and then I got a cheaper model and it didn't last long at all. So I'm back to the Pampered Chef one. Okay, so now we have, this is the garlic tool. Came out in the fall catalog. Comes with your little thing to get the cover off the garlic. Comes with a little brush to brush it out. So I'm going to show you how this works real fast. You just put your clove of garlic inside of here. And you rub it back and forth. That's a pretty flat clove of garlic. It don't want to roll. Let me see here. Part of that shell's come off of it. Normally that works pretty well, but this clove was flat and he didn't want to roll inside of there, so that the clove, normally I have the skin all inside of there. Which is good when it works properly, because then you don't have all that nice garlic smell on your hand. Okay, there we go. So with this, you've got 3 different ways you can use it. You can keep this little guy in here and put your clove of garlic on top for minced. Or you can turn it around and open it up on the other side and you can have sliced garlic. Or you can just take this off altogether and just rub it over this. Let's see. and make a paste out of it. I guess the paste just sits on there. And I did learn from watching one of the Test Kitchen Live videos on Pampered Chef that the smaller the garlic is, the better it does as far as having more flavor. We're just gonna do the minced kind tonight. So I'm gonna put it on the side. It's got the little checkerboard blades. And just sit this here. And all we're gonna do is push that down. And there we go, our minced garlic. Some of the pieces are still sort of stuck together, but. And then if you have any extra that is left, you can just use your brush to brush it out, or if you could use it for cleaning too. Okay, let's see how this is going. It's going great. So we're gonna put our chicken in here. It said to use 1.5 pounds of chicken breast. I'm using chicken thighs. I'm using chicken breast because we like that a little bit better. So we're just gonna let this brown. I almost think that this weeknight skillet reminds me more of a wok because of the rounded sides than an actual weeknight pan, but that's how that goes. So I'm just grabbing some stuff and pulling it over here. That needs to sit for a minute to kind of cook on that side. Another thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use 3 ounces of cream cheese. So the cream cheese is marked on the side. Okay, there's 2, here's 3. And I'll just put this other part in a container and save for later because we're always using cream cheese for something. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. I'm gonna turn this up a little bit. So this doesn't have to be cooked until it's completely cooked through, but it does need to be cooked somewhat because when we get all the ingredients in there, we are going to put the lid on it and let it simmer. Here I have in the small batter bowl, I'm sorry. This one holds up to 4 cups. I've got 3 cups of liquid here. That's chicken broth actually. And we're gonna need this. No, I'm gonna use that one, the 3 ounces. No, I'm using that. So I want this to get a little bit of color on most of the sides there. If it's still a little pink on the inside, like I said, it will carry over cook. One thing I did forget to lay out, will you get me the tomato paste out of the refrigerator? There's a tube up behind the Dwayne top. Thank you. Okay, I've got myself prepped while I'm way ahead of the chicken here. So the reason I had him get the tomato paste out, that goes in it too. This is the small stainless steel scoop. They came with this last spring, and I love this little guy. It measures up to 3 tablespoons if you go all the way to the very top. Inside you have these little lines here. The first line marks a teaspoon, the second is 2 teaspoons, the third is 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and then all the way to the top is 3. And the reason why I was showing you that is because now in our new spring line, they have come out with a bigger one. I think that one they came out with mostly like maybe for measuring coffee grounds or things like that. So now we have the bigger one, and I think it measures up to a cup, although I'm not exactly positive about that. And you can also get these as a set. You could order the 2 of them. So I wanted to show you that real quick. So we're going to use 2 tablespoons of our tomato paste, and now our chicken is starting to cook here. So I'm going to measure it up to that last line right before the end of it. And if you ever need tomato paste but you don't need a full 6-ounce can, these little tubes are really the way to go. But I have bought the cans before, and whatever I have left over, I have pushed into a ice cube tray and froze, and then turned around, took it out, and put it in a zip bag. That works well too. You can just pull it out. Each little cube is usually about a tablespoon. Because let's face it, everything in the grocery store seems to be getting more expensive, so we don't want to waste anything. That go just a little bit more. Now, one other alteration I'm going to make. This recipe calls for using spinach at the end. I mean, I'll eat spinach. My daughter will. My husband does not. So I'm going to throw basil in it. If you're familiar with basil, it's another leafy green herb. Has a sweet sort of, almost has a smell similar to cinnamon to me, but not really. I think it actually is in the mint family, but it's not real strong like mint. So I'm going to cut up some of that and put that in at the end instead of spinach. Okay, that's not completely done, but it is most of the way. So I'm going to use my bench scrape here to get up all that onion and pepper. And that's going to go in our butter and chicken juices. And I'm going to let that go for just a minute before I add the garlic in. Just a bigger piece of pepper I'm going to pull out. You just want to let that wilt down and soften just a touch. A little mini mix and scrape. I'm using it because it fits down into the little small places. I've actually considered getting a second one of these because it seems like every time I go to use it, I've just used it. It's dirty. So next we're gonna add, I like to try to add seasonings after I add onion and pepper and stuff, like if I'm doing spaghetti sauce or whatever. This recipe, I believe, calls for a half a teaspoon of red pepper. I'm gonna cut that back to maybe, this is 1/8 of a teaspoon. These are the Easy Read measuring spoons again. Like I've said before, it's you cooking for your house, so you can kind of go by a recipe, but then alter it slightly if you need to. But I really think when you put the herbs and things in, it sort of wakens them up, because they've been in the can or in the jar, dried for a while. Gonna add, this is a 15-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Use my little mini mix and scrape here just to make sure I get it all out. We're going to put our 3 cups of chicken broth. I'm going to go ahead and add my tomato paste so that can be melting in. And the recipe calls for 8 ounces of ziti. I made sure to get the ziti with the little lines in. I think they hold the sauce a little better than a smooth kind, because it gets in those little ridges. Now we actually like our pasta around here. I don't know if I'm going to put the full box in, but 8 ounces. This is 16 ounces, so 8 ounces is only going to be half. You know what, guys? I think I'm going to go ahead and throw the whole box in. We're going to add our chicken back in. If this ends up being a little dry later, I may have to add a little extra liquid just to accommodate the extra pasta that I put in there. Let me see, where does the cream cheese come in? Our cream cheese, I'm just going to break this off in little pieces in here. I think it'll melt in better if it's in smaller pieces. And once this comes to a boil, we're going to reduce it to low and just let it simmer for probably about 30 minutes. It says until the pasta is soft and the cream cheese has melted in there. I'm actually going to do one other thing. It says at the end, after you reduce it to simmer, to go ahead and add your spinach and add your Parmesan cheese. Since I'm using basil, I'm going to cut that up and I'm going to use that now. Let me wipe this off here. And I think what I'm going to use is, maybe not. I guess I'm going to cut it. Actually, no, I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to tear these leaves in, because sometimes too much chopping on the basil leaves, they kind of get black. So I think if I just break them up in there, that'll be good. I do have some basil growing over here, but I used quite a few recipes that had basil, and the plant got down to almost next to nothing. So I bought some basil this time. Keep those little stems there out. Okay. That is good. So I thought it looked like it was starting to bubble a minute ago. I'm just going to bring this up to a simmer, and like I said, I'm going to reduce it down to low and put the lid on. And that's all there is to it, guys. Creamy chicken rigatoni. Have a good night. Bye-bye.